The round of 16 is now complete. We have our round of 12 grid for the NASCAR Cup Series. Let's talk about the Bristol Night Race. Let's talk about the Bass Pro Shops Night Race, as it's also known. And let's talk about the playoff implications. And we'll start off with the race itself, because there were so many different storylines that came up over the course of the race. There were so many people who were running high up early on who just, through incident or through bad luck or through just fading, dropped off towards the end. I'm thinking the likes of Ty Gibbs, who ended up coming away from it with 10th. I'm thinking the likes of AJ Allmendinger, who, well, got involved in an incident, 36th. Bubba Wallace was up at the front for quite a lot of the day, ended up being the first person outside of the winners to advance to the round of 12. Comes out of it in 34th. Chase Elliott, who ends up being turned around by, wasn't it Nemechek? 38th. Denny Hamlin gets a lap penalty because the wheel comes off. 31st. Kyle Larson, 32nd. But in the end, it was somebody who had been there or thereabouts the whole night who charged through. It was Christopher Bell. He made the most at that last start of a little bit of tussle, a little bit of beating and banging. For the likes of Zane Smith, wasn't it Zane Smith? And Carson Hocevar. Brad Keselowski got through. He kept him honest. He kept Bell honest in those final couple of laps. Second place for Brad Keselowski. How many second places out the years? It is second, his third top 3. And wow, only his 5th top 5 on the year so far. It's fascinating to think about that from a statistical point of view, because those RFKs were running well. I mean, I talked about drivers who've been running well who petered out later on. Chris Buescher, he ended up finishing 11th. There were just so many stories like that in this race, and yet somehow some drivers came through late to do well. Joey Logano, who was one of the first cars to drop a lap down in stage 1, just on pace, gets a top 5. And it was all of those things around the bubble that were incredibly intense. Alex Bowman missed out by 8 points. Now, granted, that would have meant that because of what happened with Cindric, who was the next bubble driver, Cindric would have had to lose a place or 2 at the end, and Bowman would have still had to win. He would have had to win his way in theory, because of the way it was. Like, Cindric would have had to lose places if Bowman didn't win. And he went all out, but the damage was done with a 26th for Gateway and a 31st in the Southern 500. Now, it wasn't all Bowman's fault. It wasn't even all the 48's fault. But this season hasn't been great. I mean, you look at it, it's what? 5 top 5s on the year. Is it 5? I think it is actually 5. Which, like I said, Brad Keselowski, he got 5. But then you look at the times he finished outside of the top 30. Darlington, Bristol Spring, Nashville, Daytona for the summer race, and the Southern 500. If we throw in the ones where he's outside of the top 20, you've got Atlanta in the spring, you've got Martinsville, you've got the Coke 600, he was 29th there, and a 26th for Gateway. It just hasn't been a great season. If we're talking about, 14 races out of 29 that he's outside the top 20? I mean, I get people say the 4th Hendrick car. Bowman isn't actually a bad driver. Something has happened there in the 48 garage this season to just unsettle him. But elsewhere with the playoff grid, it was perhaps not surprising to see the other eliminations. The eliminations in this round were more or less set when we came into Bristol, because the people who were below the line were more or less in a must-win territory. So Bowman being eliminated, whilst it's a shame, you could see it from the first couple of races. Austin Dillon, 28th on the night, wasn't enough to keep him up. Shane Van Gisbergen, I mean, I would have loved for him to progress, but a 32nd in the Southern 500, 25th at Gateway. He had some good runs over the course of Saturday night, but it just did come together. A couple of incidents, yeah. A couple of having to make trips to pit road, yeah. You don't want to make Bristol your make it or break it race, because more often he'll break it. But we have to remember, he is still a rookie. This is what, his second year of oval racing, his first year full-time in Cup. He's been dominant at the road courses. I wouldn't be surprised if he was contending for the win at the Roval in 3 weeks' time. But, yeah, it just wasn't to be. And Josh Berry. What didn't happen to Josh Berry in this round? Was it the second lap at Darlington? And then incident again in Gateway, got a 36th. Here, the car just caught fire. You saw him go to pit road, and the car, with his playoff chances going up in flames, he had to get helped out of the car. I hope the recovery isn't bad. I hope that it's fast, and I hope that we see him back out in New Hampshire. Because you could see when they were dealing with the fire with the car, you could see the banners on the rear windscreen just starting to peel off. That was an intense blaze. But the grid is set now for the round of 12, and Denny Hamlin is the leader. The cutoff line, I believe, on the current standings is 3,009 points. So Denny Hamlin, 25 to the good. 23 to the good are Kyle Larson and William Byron. Larson ahead of Byron right now. Whilst Christopher Bell is another 4 points back. He's 20 points. 21 points, I guess, to the good. Dennis Blaney another point behind. And another 9 points behind is Chase Briscoe. Chase Elliott is 5 points behind Briscoe. And then 4 points behind Elliott is Bubba Wallace. He's the cutoff driver. Just below the cut line, we have Austin Cindric. When I say just below, it is literally a point in it. And he's only a point behind Bubba Wallace, but only a point ahead of both Ross Chastain and Joey Logano. Tyler Reddick is the last one. He is 3 points out and has to contend with his teammate for that cut line. But, look, I only got one of my predictions wrong for this first round, and that was Alex Bowman. I thought Bowman was going to find a way to make it through. I thought that he would find that consistency, find that form. I thought the Cindric was going out in that first round. I wouldn't be surprised if Cindric goes out in this next round of 3 races. But I may come to rue the day that I made my playoff predictions, because in the next round, for my eliminations, I had Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, and Ross Chastain. Right now, 2 of them are below the cut line. 2 of them are above the cut line. Granted, it's 6th and 8th on the playoff grid, so one bad race, and we have 3 races that can throw that up. We've got 1 intermediate, yes, but we've also got Loudon, we've also got the Roval. Any of them could throw up a surprise there. It's going to be an interesting run to the end of the Cup Series season. I'm going to not change my picks. I'm going to just stick with them. Stick with my gut feeling. It looks like it could pan out the way it is. Though, it would be interesting to see where we are in 3 weeks' time. And that's that for this video, folks. Thank you so much for watching and joining. As always, thank you so much for your support for the channel. And I hope to see you again soon for more. Until then, it's bye-bye for now.